again, friend. I'm a skeleton returning from the dead, determined to be relevant again.
Hello, gremlins. It's been a minute, but here we are. I'll think about doing a video about what's been happening. But today I've decided we're 10 days into October. It was pretty spooky time, right? And what better way to celebrate spooky season than to do a Stephen King tier list? So this is a tier list of the Stephen King books that I have read just this year. And there are 35 of them. Y'all down here, yeah. So we are going to put them in a tier list. Okay, so my lowest ranking Stephen King is 3 stars. And that mostly just being sometimes he gets very fantasy type deals and it's just not my thing, or it's just kind of not my thing. But it is what it is. So we're going to start. The first book I have done, and we got the handy dandy notebook out here just to help refresh my memory on some of these, because as of today, hello Jeb, as of today, I have 211 books, I believe. Yeah, I finished book 211 for 2024, and that is my highest number of completed books so far in my years of reading, so I'm pretty proud. So, my first Stephen King book of the year was in January, and that was Bag of Bones. So, Bag of Bones it's kind of it's a ghosty story, right? And I do love me a good ghost story. And so that for me got a 4-star. So I'm going to say we're going to put Bag of Bones in. Do we want to go? We'll put it in A for now. That could change. Bag of Bones was a really good book. I just, for one, would not want to be haunted by my spouse. So, future spouse, if you are out there, please never haunt me. Okay, so book 2 of my pen died. I probably shouldn't use that. Okay. Can you tell it's been a minute since I've recorded anything? I don't hardly know what I'm doing anymore. Okay, so book 2, and sorry. Can you hear all the that? Yeah. Okay. So book 2 of this year for Stephen King was also in January, and that was Dr. Sleep. I love The Shining. It is such a great book. And the movie's alright, I guess. As a separate kind of entity type thing, it's alright. It's good for what it is, but for following the book, not so much. So Dr. Sleep is the sequel, and this one follows Danny into his adult life. Not my thing. I'm sorry, I didn't really like Dr. Sleep. That got a 3-star from me. Where are you? Where are you? And I'm so sorry, but that's gonna go in C tier for me. It was okay. Maybe we'll give it another go. I'll read them like in or so like The Shining and then Dr. Sleep. Maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. Just wasn't really my thing, I guess. I mean, I get the present, like, I get the story behind it, but it just wasn't my favorite, I guess. Book 3 is Elevation, and Elevation is just like a short novella. Still really, it was alright. Basically, this guy, he just losing weight, but it doesn't look like he's losing weight. So he would just get lighter and lighter and lighter, but like his body didn't show that he was losing weight. And then just okay, I won't give it away, but it was interesting. He made friends, and then they all had to have a party, a going away party, I guess. Uh, Again, not exactly my favorite. So that one got a 3-star from me. So we'll throw that in C tier with Doctor Sleep as well. Again, I mean, nothing against that. I mean, okay, I still love Stephen King. Some of his books are just not for me, and that's perfectly okay. You can I think we need to establish that you can like an author and not love everything that they've, done. That's that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Okay. The fourth book that we did this year was at the end of January, and that was Gwendy's Button Box. So Gwendy's Button Box, I loved the premise behind it. It was really, it was a really interesting thing. So Gwendy gets this box, and the buttons on it she can push and kill off different things on different continents. So there's a button for each continent, and then she can, if she pushes the button, that continent could go bye-bye. So I thought that was a really interesting premise, that she kind of like controlled everything in the palm of her hand. For me, that was a 4-star. So we'll put that up here with Bag of Bones. He did that with Richard Chismar, and I believe they have, like, at the end of this year or early next year, there's gonna be like a three-part for Gwendy coming out, or it already has come out. I know I just looked at it last night, but I kind of don't remember, because that was kind of a long time ago. Don't judge me, all right? One, we're working on. I have had my ADHD meds switched, so, and now just recently upped, so we're going through it. The next one I did is The Shawshank Redemption, and I did this one as its own little short story. It is a short story in a different in like it's a short story in a it's a short story in one complete book, but then it's also split off into its own thing. A lot of these, a lot if not most, I got from checked out from Libby from my library. So if you don't have the Libby app, it's so easy. Like get a library card, put your library card number in there, and you can get audiobooks, ebooks. It's fantastic. It's great. So for The Shawshank Redemption, I've never seen this movie, and I'm kind of okay with that. I did give the book a 4-star because I thought it was really interesting, and I really liked the story behind it. So we'll put that up in A tier also. So here we're cruising along. Hi, Jebby. Okay, so the last one we finished January out with was Blood and Smoke, and I believe this one is just a short stories book. King has a whole bunch of books of whole load of short stories. There we go. It's gonna take some time to get me practice back. It's gonna take practice to get back into this. Whatever. This one wasn't my favorite. This one was the story of 1408. I know that's a movie that I really have wanted to watch, but I haven't. Uh, it was okay. It got a 3-star from me, but I think it might be even lower on my tier list here. So I think what saved it was 1408. That is the only story in there that I kind of really actually enjoyed. So we'll put it down in D tier. Don't hate me if that's if you liked that one, cool. We all don't like the same thing, and that's perfectly fine. All right, we started February out with Carrie. Now, Carrie is King's first published book. And fun fact, Tabitha, his wife, actually saved this book from the trash cans. And it was written into the book that it is today, so we can all love Carrie White and her creepy mother. Carrie got a 4-star from me the first time I went through it. And I think when I think about it now, I'm gonna put Carrie up in S tier, and here's why. One, King's first book, and it's a classic. So it's just it's good. And I mean, if anybody ever asks me, "Oh, I would love to read Stephen King. Where do I start?" The beginning. Book numero 1, Carrie. It's great, and it's not too long. Like a lot of his books, you pick up some of King's books, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is so long. How can you? This it's intimidating." Not Carrie. It's great. Book number 2 of February was Christine. You know, the haunted Mustang or whatever she was. I think she was a Mustang. I don't remember. Uh. Anyway, the kid falls in love with this car, and then the car kills people. You know what typical cars do. Christine got a 4-star from me, and this one I'm not gonna cheat. Okay, I guess I didn't really cheat. I know I put it in here, Christine. Here you are. Christine is gonna go in A tier. That's just what it's gonna be. Sorry. All right, next on. So next is The Man in the Black Suit. This was another short story. Nothing really memorable about it, I guess. So we're gonna throw this one down with Blood and Smoke. What was this? The Man in the Black Suit. The Man in the Black Suit. What is happening? Here. Right there. That's where we want it. Okay. And after that, we did The Body, and this one is based off of, or I believe Stand By Me was based off of this book. The book, so good. I don't think I've ever watched Stand By Me, if I'm being completely honest. Sorry. This one got a 4-star for me, but I'm gonna put it in B tier because there were some parts where it did feel like it kind of drug out longer than it needed to. And not really my forte. I don't like books that drag out. Like the slow, long burns, disgusting. I do not like them. Next book of February was Revival. This one was interesting. Makes you think of like reverends differently. So it was an interesting book. I kind of was along for the ride. This one got a 4-star for me, but we're gonna put this one with The Body because again, it did kind of drag. It drug out longer than I wanted it to, and I just kind of wanted it to be done. Next one is Firestarter. My mom liked this book and she liked this movie. So I was kind of excited that maybe we'd have something we could talk about. No. I wasn't a big fan of this one. And it did get a 3-star from me, but I'm putting it down in D tier. Maybe if I give it another go, it'll be different. I think there are some King books that I go into and I want the scary, like, nightmare-esque type feel, and then they're not. And then I just kind of get disappointed. I think the more Stephen King books that I read, I realize that they're not all scary. Like blood and guts and blah blah blah. Like, there's more to it. And I think I need to just get out of the mindset of this it's gonna be scary. No, it could be anything, to be honest. Next book of February was The Long Walk. This is a short story, but it's also often its own little novella. I gave The Long Walk 5 stars. I think because it made me think. Okay, essentially it's this group of people, and they have to walk, and only one person can win. So you spend the whole book just like, who's gonna make it? Who's gonna make it? And it's very interesting. So I got a 5-star from me. We're gonna throw that up in S tier. It just really kind of makes you think about your life. And yeah. Is it worth it? Would you be able to do the long walk? I don't even remember how long it was. Just that, like, you couldn't stop walking. They had, like, people along the side to make sure you kept walking. If you stopped for too long, then you were, like, you were out of action. So, it definitely, it was a book. The next one of February is Hearts in Atlantis. This was a short stories book. And I didn't know that going into it, so I was kind of, like, super confused when it was, like, I'm getting into, like, the middle of it, and I'm like, how does this tie into what we were just talking about, like, a half hour ago? And then when I looked at the physical copy of it, and it's like, oh, it's kind of like short stories in here. It's like, oh, that would make sense why some of it didn't make sense. This one, I did give a 5-star, but I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it was the first story in it that really would. If it was just the first story, it would be an S tier. But we'll put it in A. That's fine. Next up, this one made my blood boil. I was getting so angry listening to this book, and that's Sleeping Beauties. And King's son Owen wrote this book with him, and it's basically a book about how all the women get put under this thing where they all fall asleep and the men have to then, like, figure out how to run the world. But then the women also get to do their own thing and they get to figure out how to do things. But just, like, some of the misogyny and just the things that the men would say about the women, it would just it would make me so angry. But the more that I listened to it and then I would think about it, I was like, this is doing this for a reason, not just to be an asshole. But this one got a 4-star from me, and that's gonna go up in A tier. I am excited to revisit this one at some point. Just saying. It's a good one to go into. Next is a short story that is split off into a novella. Sorry, allergies are killing me. And that is Apt Pupil. Apt Pupil is this kid, and I think he basically confronts a Nazi. But then this kid is also deranged in his own ways. This one got a 5-star from me. I can't wait to revisit this one when I'm doing it for 2025. I'm doing a Stephen King challenge. I'm reading all of his books start to like from in the order that they were published. The only thing I'm going to not do is I'm going to read the Dark Tower series as their own. I'm not going to read them in the list just to kind of, keep that storyline straight. And it might just throw things off. So I can do a little bit of both. I have like 2 reading challenges for next year already. One started at the beginning of this month. And the only reason it started this month is because a lot of the books in that list are Stephen King books. So the books that I've read this year, I will not start again until January. I know this probably makes 0 sense to people, but it makes sense up here, okay? And as scary as it is up there, that's what counts. So, Apt Pupil, S tier. Great. The next one, Cujo. I loved this book. Why? Because I wanted to hug Cujo. And here's my hot take. Cujo would not be bad boy if his family would have loved him and got him his shots. Cujo to me, S tier. If I could go higher than S tier, I would. I would say this has been my favorite King book of this year. Sadly, it's probably number 3. I haven't quite got 1 and 2 figured out to which one I like best, and those are coming up. So, I think by the end of the year, I know which 2 books, as of right now, will probably be the two that are duking it out for the winner of 2024. Next book is The Eyes of the Dragon. This one I was kind of skeptical going into because I don't do fantasy dragons. I don't do that stuff. It's boring to me, not fun. Just I don't like it. Doesn't make sense. However, this got a 5-star from me because as bad as it is, I kind of loved Flag in this book. The narrator did a great job, especially as Flag is like climbing the stairs to get to Thomas. I think that was his name. But he makes him sound like Skeletor as he's climbing the stairs, and I was chuckling the whole time. It was great. But I am gonna just put it. I know it got 5 stars, but it's gonna go in A tier. It's still a great book. Don't get me wrong, but it's gotta go in A. It wasn't just because it's not my normal type of book. That's why it's gonna go into A and not S. Next is The Dark Half. This is about a writer who basically writes as this other person, I believe. So kind of like a stage name. Or not a stage name, a pen name, whatever. Like how Stephen King has Richard Bachman, whatever that is. And then, like, he wants to kind of remove himself from that, just be himself. And then he kind of like spirals and he has these headaches and stuff and goes to the doctor and finds out that he absorbed his twin in the womb and it now lives in his brain and they have to it was a whole thing and I was not expecting it. It did get a 4-star from me just because it kind of took forever to get to the point. So that's gonna go into B tier. Next is The Institute. I read a lot of books in February, guys. Okay, Jake's gonna get so mad. I listened/read a lot of books in February. And The Institute was one of them. This is another one that when I was like in the beginning I was like, okay, where does it get scary? Where did the blood and guts come in? And then the more I was into it, I was like, wow. This is very not like the King I was expecting it to be, but I'm really into it. And by the end, I was like, that was a fantastic book. It did get a 5-star for me, but it's gone down into A tier. It was a very, very good book. All right. Also, February is where we started the Dark Tower series. And let me tell you, if you are wanting to take the trip to the Dark Tower, do not let the gunslinger stop you. For me, Gunslinger was a 3-star book. I almost did not keep going, but I cannot just do book 1 and know there's others. I had to continue. So, Gunslinger was a 3-star for me. We'll put it in. Sorry, Gunslinger is going to go into C tier. It just was not my thing. I love Roland, but that was a really boring book. I'm sorry. And then after that, we got to book 2 of the Dark Tower series, and that is The Drawing of Three. And by this one, I was loving all the characters coming in and the people he was meeting and just kind of like when Eddie comes in, Eddie changes the whole pace of the whole series, and that was great. So the Drawing of Three, we're gonna put that into we'll put Drawing of Three into A tier. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And next we did book 3, and that is The Wastelands. And that again got a 4-star from me. We had another a new character come in. on our trip to the Dark Tower, and that was Odette and Susanna, whatever they want to call her. I don't know. It's changes. And I kind of know what's going on, but I don't. But at the same time, it's like are we gonna get to this tower? But then again, we're only on book 3 and there's 7. Well, 8 technically. There's a 4.5 that kind of comes between 4 and 5. So we're gonna put the Wastelands. The Wastelands I wasn't a huge fan of. I still gave it 4 stars, but we're gonna put it in B tier. That again kind of felt like it drug out longer than it needed to. Book 4 of the Dark Tower is Wizard and Glass, and that one had a lot of Roland stories and kind of Roland's back life, and I love a good Roland story. But we're gonna put that in B tier also. Sorry. Okay. So, a little backstory on this next one. I started this book February 27th, and I ended up having to find the book that it is a short story in and get that to I could finish listening to it, and that is The Langoliers. It just kind of not my thing, and it wasn't going fast enough for me. It wasn't a fast enough paced book for me. So I gave it a 3-star. We're gonna put that. I'm sorry. I gotta put The Langoliers down in D tier. My mom says the movie was good. I don't know. The book was not my thing. Okay, we ended February. With Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot got 5 stars for me. It's a good classic King book. Fun fact, the first time I ever listened to this book, I didn't realize it was about vampires until the very end when there was the vampires. So I felt kind of dumb, but at the same time, I don't like the vampire stuff. So for me going into it not knowing it was about vampires and still loving it coming out it being vampires, that's an A+ for me already. So it's going to go in C or S tier. Are we having fun yet? I mean, we're almost towards the end and we're only into March. I haven't done a lot of King books in a bit. Just since I knew I was starting, or since I knew I was going to be doing the King challenge next year, I was just like, I don't want to do so many now and then kind of miss that opportunity for the first time going through it. So our first King book of March was the Dark Tower 4.5 volume, and that's the Wind Through the Keyholes. It was okay. That one I gave it a 4-star just because it still kind of follows the storyline, but I'm gonna put that one down here with the Gunslinger because it not my favorite. It's not my favorite. And then next we got to still in March. I listened to Stephen King or On Writing by Stephen King, so just like his kind of like memoir. Or it is a memoir of the craft, and it was so fascinating. I learned that Stephen King was in a band, and that's just great. I really liked this book. I'll put it up in S tier. Sure. That one got a 5-star from me. Okay, here comes book 1 or 2. I still can't put numbers on them, and that is The Stand. The Stand is such an incredible book. This is where Flag was not so much my friend. He hurt people that I fell in love with. And I couldn't. So The Stand is gonna go up in S tier. It was fantastic, and that's one that I cannot wait to revisit next year. All right, we're getting down there. We have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6. Oh, I suppose I gotta count it up there. 6 left. I tabbed all the pages and I still just flip through. Okay. So then this one, we are into April now. So April, my first King book of April was The Outsider. And The Outsider goes along with the Bill Hodges trilogies with Holly. What's her name? Holly. Uh, Gibbons. Gibney. Holly Gibney? Whatever. Holly. You know who Holly is. If you know the Bill Hodges trilogy, you know who Holly is. Okay? But anyways, I really liked that book. It was interesting. And that one got a 5-star from me, but I'm going to put it in A tier because while it was a great book, it wasn't a great book. So we're going to put it there. And then after that, I had to keep going with If It Bleeds, and that also has Holly in it. And then obviously Holly comes after that, which I have not read yet. I did actually just get it this past weekend and I have it on Audible, but I don't know if I want to read it or listen to it. But either way, this one also got a 5-star for me, but we're going to put it in A tier because it's the short stories. I like short stories, but at the same time, I'm not a big short stories person. You know what I'm saying? I love a whole. I want it to build and give me a whole meal. I am ridiculous. Okay. I believe the next one is my first May Stephen King book, and this book was actually book 100 of the year, and that was The Shining, and I love The Shining. It's so good. If you haven't read The Shining, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 20 out of 20 would recommend. So, obviously that's got to go S tier, right? So then after The Shining, well, okay, I should backtrack. At the end of May, I believe, Stephen King released a short stories book called You Like It Darker. So that was my well that's I started it in May and I kind of just this year's kind of sucked with like mood wise and like I'll get really into books and then I just kind of so this one took me a bit to get through. I still am gonna give it 5 stars because it was great, but come on. But we're gonna put it in A tier. If you haven't got that one, I would recommend going out and getting that one. For short stories, it's really good. There's like a story in there that's I think what is it? Was it like a prequel or a sequel type thing to Cujo? Great. All right, we are into August now, and my August book is one of them, at least. No, this is my only August book. Billy Summers. Billy Summers was a great book. Again, not what I was expecting. I did also read that I think this one's getting made into a movie, and I think Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be in it, but I think Jason Statham would make a great Billy Summers. I'm just saying. But I'm gonna put Billy Summers A tier. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. A plus, 5-star. Go get that book. And last but not least, okay, so we get to it now. This year is going to come down between The Stand and 11/22/63. I read this book in 12 days. And it's almost 900 pages. It was so good. And I know nothing about history, but this is going up in S tier. Basically, we find a portal and we're going back to save JFK. Does it work out? Does it not work out? Does changing time really make that big of a difference? If JFK would have lived, would that have made the world a better place? I don't know. You'll have to read 11/22/63 to find out. Anyways, this here is my tier list of Stephen King books that I have read this year. If you want to see more book-related things, leave a like and a comment. We can do probably about anything with book-related things. I kind of would be interested in to do like some book versus movie type things, especially with King books and King movies, because sometimes they get a little crazy. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. As always, tell your mom I says hi, and peace out, Girl Scouts.